August 1st, 1936, the first day of the Berlin Olympics, was not only the first day of a global phenomenon but also a great stepping stone for the future of African American athletes in dethroning Hitler's power due to a man named Jesse Owens. Until the 1936 Olympics, no other American athlete had won more than one gold medal in multiple Olympic events, but Jesse Owens was determined to change this, and most importantly, he was brought to Germany during these games to shock the world and make a name and movement for the African American society back home and the many racist discriminators. Jesse Owens broke barriers, defying the color barrier and Hitler's Aryan beliefs during the 1936 Berlin Olympics, where he succeeded, winning 4 gold medals while acting as a civil rights activist and leader in America after he returned home from the Olympics. During the time of the mid-1900s, America was yet again facing another crucial and divided time period in which the equality among Americans was unequal and the basic human rights were stripped. To start, during this time period, the Great Depression was reaching its peak during the late 1930s, causing many Americans to lose jobs, and the national bank began to crash. Alongside this catastrophe, the Nazi Party had risen to power in 1933, 2 years prior to when Berlin was named to be the host of the Olympics. Due to Hitler's dictatorship and harsh rule, many countries like the United States wanted to boycott the games to stay neutral in the Nazi progression. Further, during this time period, Southern and Middle America were facing bad segregation and racial inequality problems as African Americans were not gaining access to basic rights, which made their lives much harder, and many protests began, like the civil rights movement designed to end legalized racial discrimination. Sports were subjected to the same matter of inequality as other institutions. Sports were simply unavailable to African Americans, at least at any competitive level. Jesse Owens was born in Oakville, Alabama on September 12, 1913. He was born the son of a sharecropper farmer and was born very sick. Growing up, he was often too weak and frail to help his dad in the fields. Owens' childhood was not great as racial discrimination began to grow, which caused his father to lose his job. In 1921, Owens and his family moved to Cleveland, Ohio in search for a better work opportunity. After the move, Owens was able to attend his first public school, in which he was first introduced to the sport of track and field by one of his teachers. Owens used track as a way to remove himself from the outside issues in society. As Owens grew older, he got better and better each year in track, and he eventually was offered a scholarship to run track and field at the Ohio State University. This was a glorious moment in Owens' life, but also one that came with many hardships, as he did not have the money to pay the tuition, so he had to work 3 jobs in addition to running. Another challenge he faced was racial profiling and discrimination against his acts and accomplishments, which were heavily displayed during the 1930s after Owens had qualified for the 1936 Berlin Olympics. He immediately received backlash and hate despite the fact that he had broke records to qualify. Walter White, president of the NAACP, wrote a letter to Jesse Owens describing how he should not participate in the Olympic Games as it was deemed to be dangerous and would cause more hatred for the American race if he went. Owens fought back at the critics and hate and decided to participate in the Olympics in order to stand up for the African American community and create an end to the African American doubt around the country. Jesse Owens took his next step into breaking Hitler's global power and ending racial inequality in the United States after he decided to take part in the Olympics despite Hitler's previous comments and widespread hate towards non-Aryan people. Shockingly, Owens was not scared of this obstacle despite the fact that most people in the United States did not want him to attend. This gave him a chip on his shoulder as he told the media before running in the Olympics, "I wanted no part of politics, and I wasn't in Berlin to compete against any one athlete. The purpose of the Olympics, anyway, was to do your best. As I learned long ago from Charles Riley, the only victory that counts is the one over yourself." In the end, Owens was correct as he went on to successfully win 4 gold medals, brutally demolishing the competition and embarrassing Hitler and the haters back in America. His actions did immediately impact American society, as many newspapers and media sources started to write about the major upset in Owens' major accomplishment. This was one of the first times that an African-American athlete had made top-tier news in American history. Even though Hitler snubbed Jesse Owens in the end and showed little respect after he had won the games, Owens did not care, and he was just happy that he had accomplished a lifelong dream and pushed a step further in the right direction for African-American athletes worldwide, as he received a standing ovation from the crowd after he was crowned his gold medal. Due to Jesse Owens' accomplishments, he had single-handedly proved Hitler's Aryan race theory wrong and changed many Americans' views towards African-American athletes and their true significance and abilities in society.
After the 1936 Berlin Olympics, Owens had plenty of opportunities to use his fame. Soon enough, Owens signed with a New York agent, making money with various jobs as a one-man show. Owens was running before baseball games and other athletic events against the hometown's fastest athlete. After a whirlwind of post-Olympic promotional activities, Owens returned to the Ohio State University to finish his studies. In 1949, the Owens family moves to Chicago, where Jesse launches a public relations company. He traveled extensively, speaking on athletic competition and its ability to inspire race relations. Owens and several other former U.S. Olympic champions attended the 1956 Summer Olympic Games as personal representatives of U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower. He is named Ambassador of Sports by President Eisenhower and tours the world promoting the virtues of amateur sports. Then Jesse was appointed to the board of directors of the U.S. Olympic Committee. In that position, he spent much of his time pushing for funding to equip and train U.S. athletes. Owens was often on the road, whether it was encouraging physical fitness among African Americans during World War II or promoting the Olympic ideals during the Winter and Summer Games. In the same year, Edwin Bancroft Henderson noticed the subtle shift in race relations that were taking place. He observed that in the press, as a result of Owens and others, news columns, sporting sections, and editorial comments have referred to Negro athletic achievement more than to any other artistic, political, or educational phase of Negro life. Owens' real ambitions were to help the youth of the nation, which he acquired various jobs to specifically do that. For 2 decades, Owens served as the director of the Illinois Youth Commission, in which he was able to work with children across Illinois. Owens spent a lot of time working with charity groups, mostly serving as a role model for youngsters through his work with Boys Clubs of America and through his association with the ARCO Jesse Owens Games. Along the way, he was showered with statues, plaques, and other mementos to honor him. In 1972, Jesse receives an honorary doctorate of athletic arts from the Ohio State University. And in 1976, President Gerald Ford presents Jesse Owens the Medal of Freedom, the highest honor the U.S. bestows upon a civilian, saying, "Your character, your achievement, always will be a source of inspiration." Only 3 years later, President Jimmy Carter presents Jesse Owens with the Living Legend Award. After Owens' death, President George H. Bush presented Ruth Owens the Congressional Gold Medal for Jesse's accomplishments in track, his patriotism, and his humanitarianism, saying his accomplishments were an unrivaled athletic triumph, but more than that, it really was a triumph for all humanity. Owens' friends and family united to discover a way to honor his spirit, one that strongly believed in his country and the value of its youth. With that spirit in mind, the Jesse Owens Foundation was created. Owens turned into a dreamer who can make the dreams of others come true. As a speaker, he made the world listen. Through his living example, he gave hope to tens of millions of young humans by working with them, sharing himself with the little material wealth that he had. He was as much the champion on the playground in the poorest neighborhoods as he was in the Olympic Games. Owens was the first American to win 4 gold medals in a single Olympiad, something no athlete did before or has done since. During a time of segregation, he not only broke Hitler's master race theory, but also confirmed that individual excellence, rather than race or origin, establishes a man over another. Jesse Owens should truly be remembered as not only one who dominated on the athletic field, but as one who truly created change and put others in front of himself in order to succeed. Jesse Owens was important to U.S. history as he helped decrease tensions and prove Hitler's theory of the Aryan race wrong, which helped the United States and the African American community gain morale during the 1930s, one of the toughest times in America due to the Great Depression and ongoing segregation.